Late October evening was descending upon the Ohio countryside. The western sky blazed with the orange and purple hues of sunset, but the shadows were already lengthening noticeably, heralding the imminent night. The time was between 5:30 p.m. and 5:45 p.m. John Milikovich was driving his old but reliable sedan down a narrow asphalt road, sandwiched between two vast, already harvested cornfields. Beside him sat his wife, Doris, and in the back seat, their 10-year-old son Tommy watched the passing scenery. They were returning home after visiting relatives in a neighboring town, and the car was filled with the usual end-of-day fatigue mixed with anticipation for dinner and rest. Suddenly, John slammed on the brakes, making the tires screech on the asphalt. "Look," he exclaimed. Right in front of the car, darting out of the tall grass by the left field, a large rabbit dashed across. But that was only the beginning. Following it, as if fleeing from an unseen threat, a whole stream of small field animals poured across the road. Mice, voles, even a pair of frightened pheasants awkwardly flew to the other side. They all rapidly crossed the road from left to right, disappearing into the stubble of the right field. Their panic was almost palpable. What scared them so much? Doris murmured, peering into the left field from where the animals were fleeing. John and Tommy also looked to the left, and then they saw it. Hovering low over the field, about 150 meters from the road, was an object. At first, it seemed just like a bright light, but as their eyes adjusted, its shape became visible. It was dark, matte, shaped like an inverted pod, or perhaps a very large bowler hat. It made no sound, but a powerful, steady glow emanated from it, illuminating the section of the field beneath it with an unnatural, ghostly light. The object didn't move, simply hung in the air, defying all laws of physics. "What is that?" Tommy asked in a whisper, pressing against the back of the front seat. "I don't know, son," John answered, his voice tense with a mixture of amazement and dawning anxiety. "Maybe some new kind of helicopter? Or something else." Curiosity overcame fear. "Let's get out. Get a closer look," suggested Doris, her eyes fixed on the mysterious object. John hesitated for a moment, then turned off the engine. The evening silence became even more profound. The three of them carefully got out of the car, standing on the shoulder, never taking their eyes off the left field. As soon as they stepped out, the object seemed to come alive. It began to slowly, majestically ascend, still silently. The glow intensified. Then it moved smoothly towards them, gaining altitude. It passed directly over the road, over their car. At that moment, Doris cried out and shrank back. "Hot! It's hot!" she exclaimed. A wave of dry, unnatural heat indeed washed over them, like from a blazing furnace. The air around them momentarily felt dense and heavy. John felt the hair on his arms stand on end, although there were no signs of static electricity. The object, without stopping, continued its movement over the right field. It flew low, about 30 meters above the ground, heading towards a solitary farmhouse standing about 100 meters from the road. The house looked dark and uninhabited. When the object reached the house, it hovered directly above its roof. And then the strangest part began. The craft ceased to be monolithic. It began to vibrate or tremble with its entire body, its edges becoming blurred. It shook like jelly, as John later described it. At this moment, it became particularly noticeable how huge it was. Its diameter was comparable to the size of the two-story farmhouse itself. It was then they could better discern the details they later sketched. The dark, bowler hat-shaped base was clearly visible, and on its top rested a distinct dome. This dome wasn't dark. On the contrary, it glowed brightly, but the light was divided into three distinct vertical sections. One section emitted a pure, milky white light, the central one a deep amber, almost orange, and the third a rich green. These colored bands of light did not blend. Their boundaries were sharp. But the most astonishing thing was that dark silhouettes were moving against the backdrop of these luminous panels of the dome. The figures were clearly humanoid, with heads, torsos, arms, but their proportions seemed slightly distorted, elongated. They moved inside the dome, sometimes approaching the edge and seeming to lean down, as if looking for or searching for something on the roof of the house or on the ground around it. Their movements were smooth, yet somewhat mechanistic. Whether there were 3 or 4 of them was hard to tell due to the brightness of the light and constant movement. The sight was mesmerizing and, at the same time, extremely unsettling. Who were they? What did they want over this seemingly abandoned house? Suddenly, the object's smooth movement gave way to abrupt, jerky motions. It jerked to one side, then the other, as if its pilot had lost control or was testing its maneuverability. Simultaneously, the light from the dome flared with new intensity, becoming almost blinding. The white, amber, and green colors became so bright they hurt the eyes. John instinctively squeezed his eyes shut, covering them with his hand. "Too bright," he yelled, feeling a sharp, burning sensation in his eyes, as if sand had been thrown into them. This was the last straw. The accumulated fear and the inexplicability of what was happening escalated into panic. "To the car? Quickly," John commanded, grabbing Tommy by the hand. Doris was already running towards the passenger door. They practically tumbled inside, slamming the doors shut. John's hands trembled slightly as he turned the key in the ignition. The engine started on the first try. The object apparently created no electromagnetic interference. John sharply turned the steering wheel and floored the gas pedal. The car shot forward, leaving behind the strange object still hovering and vibrating over the farmhouse. John didn't dare look in the rearview mirror, focusing entirely on the road. Doris turned around. "It's still there, glowing," she whispered fearfully. They drove several kilometers in complete silence before John slowed down a bit. The burning in their eyes gradually subsided, but his heart was still pounding in his chest. Tommy was crying softly in the back seat. "What was that, John?" Doris finally asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know, Doris. I've never seen anything like it," he answered, still looking straight ahead. "But it's definitely not ours. Not of this earth." They could never find a rational explanation for what they had seen. There were no sounds, other than their own frightened cries and the screech of tires. No interference with the car's operation. But there was the wave of palpable heat, the strange silhouettes in the glowing dome, the inexplicable vibration, and the blinding light that caused their eyes to burn. And there was the panic of the animals that had preceded it all. The Milikovich family had become unwilling witnesses to something that went far beyond their familiar world, leaving behind more questions than answers, and an indelible mark on their memory.